Hello and good day, everyone. Welcome to the Biz Launch Seminar on launching a business and starting up right. We're so excited to have you with us this lunch hour, well, past lunch hour. It's lunch somewhere in the U.S., but it's actually 2 p.m. on the East Coast, and we're so glad that you were able to join us today. We're going to be talking about all things about starting a business. I know it may be your New Year's resolution, might be in 2018 to start a business. So we're here. This is a resource exactly for you to go through everything that you need to know, from legal requirements to policies, regulations, all kinds of really cool things that you'll need to do in order to launch right. So with that, we're going to quickly get started. I'm going to go to my first slide. A little bit about myself. I started Biz Launch about 17 years ago, and it has been my absolute pleasure. We get to see people from the idea phase when they just have a germ of an idea, and then to walk with them through their steps as they launch, as they grow, as they succeed. And so being able to do that is such a pleasure. And we see different best case scenarios, different things that work really well for people. And in that time, since we initially I founded Biz Launch, we really have some tips and tricks of the trade that work out right. So throughout the webinar, we're going to be talking about those things and going into some depth and detail so that you really know what are some of the first things that you need to be able to do as you have that germ of an idea and as you move forward. Just some little things about me. So since we started Biz Launch, we've hit about over 50,000 people. So we've really seen it all. We've seen people succeed. We've seen people stumble. We've had to help pick people up and go along the way. But what we really have seen are some of the great things that people do in order to be successful. We do workshops, one-on-one counseling. We're able to get in and really work with our business owners. My background is in marketing, and my colleague Lourdes that's here with me is also a PR professional, and so we always bring the marketing and PR side of things to small business. But we have other counselors that do strategic planning, business development, financing, looking at your numbers, and all the things. I love to eat food, so in working with businesses, if you have a food business, I am an amazing taste tester. Love to read books, and love to be on social media, so you can keep in touch with us. Any burning questions, or if you'd like for us to share information, we'd be more than happy to do so. In order to really enjoy today's webinar, everybody is in listening-only mode at this time. And my colleague Janine Finch is with me on the phone. Janine?
Hey, everyone.
Janine is there, and what she will be doing is, if you have questions as we go along the presentation, you can raise your hand in the GoToWebinar application, and she will pocket all of the questions as we go through. So even if we don't stop to answer the question right away, feel free to do so, and Janine will be able to answer any of your questions. Thanks, Janine, and thanks for being with us today. The other thing that we also will do is all of this information, we're doing a Facebook Live, so we're live on Facebook at this moment, and we are also taping this presentation, and it will be available up on our website, arlingtoneconomicdevelopment.com, under resources for webinars. And you'll be able to get that by the end of this week, so if you have any burning questions. The other thing I always tell everybody, in all the years that we've been doing this, we don't go away. So if you have follow-up questions after the presentation today, feel free to reach out to us. You'll have our contact information at the end. But in starting or launching a business, it really takes a village. If you have a third party that's not affiliated, that's not a spouse or best friend, that can really talk to you about what are some of the things that you're concerned about and where are their resources. That's what we're here at Biz Launch. That's what we do. So I'm going to jump in and talk a little bit about the agenda for today's presentation. We're going to first go over some of the reasons as to what you should be doing first as you begin to launch your business. Some of the things that you should be thinking about and how you should position yourself. Next, we'll go into some of the strategic planning and market research and data. We touch on it. We also do another webinar where we go into much more depth. But we will touch on some of the things that you need to have as you begin your strategic planning with your business or for your business. And then we'll give you an outline as to a checklist, what you should be doing and how you should do it. And then from there, we're going to talk about the policy and regulations, which is all very, very popular because you want to make sure that whatever it is that you're doing, that on the federal, state, or local level, you're compliant with any issues when it comes to that. And so, yes, you are in the right webinar because with starting a business and launching correct, I just want this slide to let you know that there are all kinds of resources for you and available to you. And many of them are free or complimentary. But there's webinars, there's additional resources, there's additional partners, there's different training that we do, whether it's in a webinar format or if it's online or if we do a tweet chat, whatever makes the most sense for you. You know, sometimes when you start a business, it's you, the individual, you may be working from home, you spend a lot of time alone. But I'm here to say is look at us as your partner in your endeavor as you go forward and making sure that you have somebody that you can run your ideas by. So these are just a quick snapshot of some of the things that we offer and that we do. One thing that I want to emphasize is that free is a very good four-letter word. You heard it here, folks. As I go through and I talk about resources and I talk about things that are out there and that are available, remember, most of the information that I'm sharing with you is free. Whether it's assistance or help or mentorship or programs that are available to start up businesses, you want to make sure that you put your cash and your money into things that make the most sense, like an attorney that can help you with contracts or help you with real estate, a CPA, an accountant that can help to make sure that your books are correct. There are certain folks that you want to have in your cadre that you pay for, but as we go through, and I'll let you know where that four-letter word is indicated, I will say this is free, and you'll remember this slide, and that it's a very good word as we move on and move forward. Cash is a hard commodity to come by, and what you do with that cash, you want to make sure that in business you're getting that return on investment, that you're reinvesting your money and it's making sense what you're paying for. And entrepreneurship in and of itself is an endeavor where you're taking an idea, a thought, a product, or a service, and you're bringing it to market. Entrepreneurship has many connotations. When you think of that word, you think of risk taker. You think of somebody that is creative, that's innovative, you know, all these great words. And then what you need to do is look at yourself, because that's how you're going to be describing you as you move forward and you begin your business. But in risk-taking, it feels like you're jumping off a cliff, right? It feels like you're just taking this like unmitigated leap into the water. Will you hit the rocks? Will you hit the water? Is the water warm? Is the water cold? You know, how is it? But what I'm here to say is it really is, entrepreneurship is a calculated leap. It's taking that idea or that thought, that product or service that you thought about and really making sure that there's a market for it, that other people will want to buy or purchase your goods or services. And part of that is actually going through the process of really thinking it through. And I will say that is the biggest difference we find from people that are successful and people that fail, is just not only do they have an amazing idea or something that they're offering that someone else, they're building upon current technology that's existing and making it even better, you know, but they're thinking it through. Do I have enough cash to do it? How many people will it take me to convert? Who are my target market? Who is that target market? Can't be everybody. But you're going through and you're designing and you're researching and you're crafting what that business looks like. That makes a difference for those that rush in and that take that flying leap, and those that take the leap and they've got a parachute on the back to make sure that they land not on the rocks, not on the water, but in the most prime location. And that really does make the difference, I find, between those that are successful and also being able to understand as you're going through this process what your weaknesses are as the business owner or as the entrepreneur. What within yourself could prevent you from having the business be a success? Do you need to hire somebody to overcompensate for that? Or do you need to take courses to be able to understand that element before you invest money into something that doesn't make sense? So that is part of it. And once you do all of the background homework, this is my key tip to the difference between those that are successful and those that fail are the ones that really think it through and come up with a strategy, and then you decide what date. If 2018 is your year that you want to start your business, what date in 2018 do you want to launch? But you go back and figure out all the things you need to do. Say June 30th, you've given yourself 6 months to launch your business. What are the things that you need to do between January and May 30th to be able to launch your endeavor successfully? But it's all planned and it's all thought out. Which leads me to our checklist. I know there's some people that love checklists and having everything written down in A, B, C, D, and E. That also will help keep you focused if you have a deadline as to when you want to start or how you want to start and who your target is. That will help you. And it will also frame as you're calendaring and putting milestones into your plan. So the first thing on Tara's golden business checklist is to plan. And once you plan, it will show you how much money you will need to do the endeavor. So then to think of financing and what's out there, who can support you in your endeavor, whether it's crowdfunding, venture capital, and we'll get into some of this later on. But figuring out how much is it going to cost. If you're self-funding your endeavor, how much do I need? What type of business structure are you going to be? Are you going to be a sole proprietor, an LLC? Are you going to incorporate? And where? You know, what location? Where are you going to do it? We're going to go over that. What are the federal requirements to launch? What are the state and what are the local? And we're in Arlington, Virginia, so I'm going to go through what we do in Arlington as we proceed through the slides. But some of the things that you got to think, a lot of it is similar, but they may call these agencies by a different name. So if you're in Maryland, if you're in the District of Columbia, you'll follow the same steps, but you'll use your state or your local jurisdictions to get the paperwork. And then any certifications that are available to you as a small business, as a woman-owned business, as a minority-owned business, and then being able to execute. But really what you want to do is start with your business plan. That is step number one, and this checklist is how I have it because that's what you want to start with. And then looking at designing your business plan and taking that idea, taking those thoughts that you have, and then building upon it and creating your foundation is really the business plan in and of itself. It really gives you the parameters of the things that you need to be thinking about as you move forward, okay? In that business plan, you'll find that there's market research, there's data about your customer, about your clients. What types of things do they like? How do they like to buy your product or service? Where are they on social media? What types of applications do they prefer? Are you getting a storefront or are you virtual? These are all of the things that you kind of want to look at that's out there in the market. You want to have competition for your business because if nobody's doing what it is that you're doing, that makes it so much harder for you to launch. And you may have to throw much more money at what it is that you're doing. You want to have existing competition and to take a percentage away from them. Also see what they're doing and then maybe improve upon it. You know, if there's competition, that means that there's a proven track record. That means that it's a viable business concept. When there's nobody else in the field or the industry, you have to recreate that, and you have to, in your planning and as part of your business plan, you have to put the information in there so that that doesn't become a quagmire that you may fail. So these are all the things that you're doing as you begin to build. You also want to look at the business intelligence. What is the market doing? Is it a growing market? By what percentage? Is the technology sustainable, or is what you're doing sustainable over years, or is it more of a short-term endeavor and then you start something else? You're like serial entrepreneurship. So really trying to gather as much business intelligence and what the market share opportunities are for you. And then social media marketing. Actually, I should have it the opposite way. Your marketing plan and social media is one aspect. If your clients aren't on social media, then you may have to look at other endeavors that you're doing under the marketing piece of it all. And we'll talk more about that as we move ahead. And then financials. As a new business, as a startup, you and the business are intertwined. So if you're going to seek financing or if you're looking to secure space, typically folks will want to see, organizations will want to see 3 years tax returns from you. The ultimate goal as you launch your business and as you're in business is to begin to separate you from the business and to have the business stand on its own, have the business start to develop its own financial and credit history, and then you kind of are removing yourself from there so that you and the business aren't as intertwined. But as a startup business, when people hear the name of your company, they're going to want to know who's backing that company, and that would be you. And so typically, many times, it's your personal financial history. So the business line itself, a lot of times we'll hear from businesses and they'll say, oh my gosh, this is daunting. You want me to take my idea and you want me to put it on the paper. Oh. But one of the things I would say is your audience. Who is your audience? And that audience is really you. It's a green light. Your business plan is a green light that says move forward, or it's a red light that says danger. You might need to tweak, or you may need to change your line of thinking. It really makes you have that great idea that's in your head to minimize the risk so that you're taking a calculated leap rather than a flying leap. I can't begin to emphasize that enough. The business plan must be feasible. Many times, like I told you in the beginning, I'm a foodie, right? But I'm not the best cook. So I'm not going to start a restaurant, right? That is not a feasible endeavor. I may know some great chefs and I might have a concept, but maybe in that instance I'm more of an investor than somebody that's launching. Because what happens when your chef is sick and you need to go in and provide food for people? So it has to be feasible. It has to make sense. The location that you're looking at to do your pop-up shop should be affordable and should be there must be a lot of foot traffic. Otherwise, it's not feasible. So sometimes the things that we think in our mind, we've explained it, but if somebody else is looking in and they're asking those questions, that's a sign that the endeavor might not be feasible. Your plan is also very detailed. It's thinking of everything, because this is, if you're self-funding, you want to make sure that what you're funding, you're getting your return on investment. That's very, very important. So you want to be as detailed as possible. You want to be able to say how many people will be working for you. Are they contracted positions? Are they full-time? Are they part-time? What days and hours are you open? If you decide to close the business, you even want to think futuristically, how would that happen? or if something were to even happen to you, how would the business continue to run? So really being as detailed as possible in operations, think of everything, because inevitably something's going to happen as you begin your business that's going to throw you off course. The key is to have that solid foundation, so maybe you might slide side by side, but you're not going to topple over because you thought about it before it happened. It's much better to be proactive than reactive. Mark my words, everybody. Proactive, where you're thinking about everything that could possibly happen and having that information and how you're going to deal with it in your business plan. You want to know what that competition is, how much they gross a year. You want to know how many employees they have. You want to know everything about them. And with social media, you can get that information more than likely. And then we also have research databases that I'll talk more about as we go along. But it really takes that assumption of the market and it minimizes it. It's written for you, but you might have another version if you're looking to lease space or if you're looking to get a bank loan. The things that you put in there are very different. Like a business plan for a bank will begin with the executive summary, and it has the information about how much you're looking for, and it will talk about what you're going to do with the proceeds. So that may be very different than your business plan that you're using operating year to year, or like a 3, 4, 5-year plan. It's very different than what you'll show other people. One thing I think that we also do is we're very humble people by nature, and we don't brag and talk about our management expertise or the experiences that we have, especially if you're looking to lease space or look for investors or bankers or financial institutions. Talk about whatever experience that you have, professional experience that you have that is related to the business itself, whether it's management, leadership, whether it's you created a widget at your employer that saved them time or money in some kind of way that's applicable to the endeavor that you're doing. Many times we don't like to brag about ourselves, but in your business plan, especially when other people are looking at you, and many people will look at you, and you've got to know this, and I'm going to say this, people don't really say this a lot, but you as the entrepreneur, you are a leader in your community. Because you've taken a risk and you're out there and you're providing a service or a product or good, people are looking at you because you've done it and you've arrived and you're successful. So just knowing that and making sure that the management expertise matches up with what you want to do with your endeavor. That's very, very important. We got into the financials, and then, of course, a marketing plan is part of the business plan. What you'll see with some of these circles, there's the one main circle. These are some of these things that you want to see in the plan. We also have a copy of a plan. If you're interested, let us know in the comments, because we can send you a sample plan that we created some years back that gives you an idea of things that you should have as you begin to launch your business endeavor. Now, I say that all to say, and then you might be thinking to yourself, well, Tara, I am not a researcher. Well, we've got tools for you that will help you with that. And I have attached in the handout, you have a copy of the PowerPoint, and all of these links are live, so you can go right to those resources. I wanted to make sure that everybody had a copy of the presentation, so it's very, very simple for you. But Arlington Central Library has an amazing amount of market research data that you can use for free. You don't have to pay thousands of dollars, which is what some of these databases and accounts will cost you. Your payment is by using your Arlington County Library card to get access 24/7. It can help you to identify your target market. It can help you to create lists for potential clients. It will tell you how much the clients spend in particular endeavors, how many employees folks have, if they're growing. It can give you market research data. It's amazing. There's probably about 10 different databases that Arlington County licenses that you can access to help you with your planning portion of it all. I can't begin to tell you how amazing, resourceful that is, and that it's free. The county pays for the database. You use your library card to get access. CoStar reports, if you are looking for space and you want to know what the foot traffic count is, what are the demographics of the folks that are in this particular community, and looking at it from 3 to 5 to 10 years out. What does that look like in the future? We have that data. I can run a CoStar report. I can also run a CoStar report of available lease space. Tara, I'm about to outgrow my co-working space, and I want to be in the corridor near Rosslyn Metro. What's available at 2,000 square feet? I have some employees, and I want to graduate. We can run that for you. We get those broker reports with the available space, whether it's retail or commercial. We can pull that, and we can let you know who are all within a certain geographical area within that jurisdiction. The information is great, and all of these things are, what was that four-letter word? Free. Free to you, free to me. George Mason University School of Public Policy also has an amazing resource for entrepreneurs that are looking to get data for industry-specific information. So, for example, I'm in the IT field. I do a particular specialty within cybersecurity. You can download and pull the report for free, which will give you a lot of the content and data that I described a few slides before, and you can find out where the industry is headed, who are the thought leaders, who are the influencers, what does that, I mean, it really goes down into depth, and you can use that information. Usually if you were in a company and you paid for a report like that, it could be up to $1,000. All you need to do is bring your flash drive and save it to your flash drive, and from the, can't talk right now, GMU School of Public Policy, and you can download that for free. I was so excited about getting out that free four-letter word, I almost loved-dubbed, but you bring your flash drive and you can get that information. There's also a ton of events, whether they're networking, whether it's subject matter. We did a workshop last week on how to get financing. We did one the week before on what is intellectual property, how do you get a trademark. And a lot of the programs and the workshops we do, the majority of them are also that four-letter word free. So if you click on the website, take a look at our calendar. We are updating for the new year. There's plenty in store, so stay tuned. We'll go into a variety of other topics which touches market research and business intelligence, definitely. Marketing is something, and I did a marketing webinar a few weeks ago, but marketing is something that is near and dear to my heart because that's where I was in the private sector for so many years. But really with marketing, it's that simplistic thing where you see that there's a box of apples and they all have the same shape and they have stems and they just look red and delicious, but there's just one that stands out. Like, I know it's an apple, I can imagine what it tastes like, but for some reason it stands out from the crowd. That is what your marketing plan will do. It makes you have a branded voice as you go out into the community so that you stand out from your peers, from your competition. Apple is always an apple. You're not going to be something that you're not. You're not going to offer products or services that don't make sense. Apple is an apple. It's just something that looks fresher, and it's something that's distinctive from everybody else. Social media is the latest craze on getting the information out there. But I have to emphasize, it only makes sense to have that as part of your marketing plan if your clients and customers or your influencers are on the platform. Or if you have a strategy, I'm going to blog, and as part of my marketing outreach, I'm going to be a subject matter expert in my cybersecurity field, and I'm going to write some it doesn't have to be extremely detailed, but I'm going to publish really salient facts that positions me in such a way that other people want to know me. So if I'm doing that blog, I'll share it on LinkedIn with other people that are within my sphere of influence. And I will do this once a month, I'll do this once a week, whatever makes sense. I'll change that information so that people know that I really know what it is that I'm talking about. And then other people will then, with the strategy in mind, hey, we need to go talk to Tara Palacios. She just posted that article on cybersecurity, and it was amazing. And so, really having a plan, and we did a webinar just a few weeks ago on planning how often you're going to update, what the marketing is going to be, and really understanding your target market. So everything is deliberate. It's not that you're throwing noodles on the wall. It's very, very specific. You can also do traditional advertising. Traditional advertising is an ad that's either in print or it's a commercial that's on television. It's an ad that you've sponsored on YouTube. It can take a variety of different forms. But you want to make sure that the people that are reading or looking at your ad or that are seeing it on YouTube or seeing it in these different platforms are your customer clients. You want to be able to track that ad to see, has it bumped up my sales for the month? Does it make sense? Paid advertising is expensive. Some of the things that we do on social media aren't as expensive. You can pay to be very deliberate as to who your target market is, and there are different methods to be able to do that. But really understanding when you're doing traditional advertising what it is that makes the most sense, where you're going to get your biggest bang for your buck. And there goes my voice for a second, everybody. Hold on. I was talking a lot, right? The next thing that I highly encourage everybody to do are surveys and market research, primary research, where you can get information about your customers. So instead of trying to guess, oh, what should my price point be? When are the best times for me to be here? How should I set up my meetings? Ask your customers, ask your clients, because you'd be surprised in this sharing kind of environment, people are willing to share data and share information about, well, if I want to go to a particular type of event or if I want to see a particular type influencer, I'm online at such and such a time. It would be a good time to post a blog on Fridays because that's my down day. But being very deliberate. And whether you do paid versus free. And I think really it is understanding your clients, it's understanding your customers, and coming up with a practical way to reach your target market. Your target market cannot be everybody. It has to be a very finite group of people that you can influence. If it's a larger group of people, then you need a huge budget, like a Coca-Cola budget, to be able to get that larger group. And so with the marketing plan, your business plan has a longer shelf life because you've worked on it and you've really thought it through, and it should take you 3 to 5 years out. Your marketing plan will change year to year, depending on whether you decide to join a chamber of commerce, if you're deciding to join the major industry conference for that particular year. So that's really dependent. What your marketing plan will do, and I alluded to this earlier, your marketing plan will prevent you from throwing noodles on the wall to see what sticks and being able to move forward very deliberately and very successfully. Now, there also needs to be some opportunity where you're flexible. So if you're not getting the return on investment, I think they say it takes 6 touches before somebody realizes who you are, what you are. So you want to give it some time and see what works. But you don't want to keep doing the same things over and over if it's not working, right? And okay, I love this picture. The low-hanging fruit. Really define your target market. Those are the people that will most likely buy your product and service. Those are the ones that you want to identify that you want to go forward with. Don't get the people where you got to do a million touches and explain things 50 different ways as to how you do it. Your target market is not everyone. Think low-hanging fruit. Who are our folks that I can easily reach up and grab? I'm really on the apple kick, but I can easily reach up and get my apple. Thank you so much. This is help my throat. That low-hanging fruit that I can grab and hold on to and be able to convert into a sale. And going back to polling and talking to your clients and your customers, I think that's really important, and I think that that is something that you should do right away and in the beginning. Okay. Now also, as part of helping yourself as you're going along and you're doing your market research and your data collection and your business intelligence, these are some of my favorite websites that I refer people to all the time, meaning a lot. I start with economic development just because I think we've got good services. But then, of course, the Small Business Administration. Then there's the local office. The SBA actually has templates of business plans by industry sector. I say use them as a guide, just like I can provide you with the sample that we did, but you really want to be able to make it your own, so feel free to throw in all the things that you think are the most important. SCORE are the mentors that we have here at BizLaunch. They will meet with you as many times as need be in order to help you to succeed, run ideas by, look at your strategy. Does it make sense? How can I build my strategic plan or my marketing plan? The IRS, the Internal Revenue Service, has some amazing resources for small businesses. Their small business tools are fantastic. Definitely, they've had some really great people work on their services. Got some more portals which will talk about building a business plan. Arlington County has a small business portal that will walk you through policies and regulations, which is excellent. The library has amassed excellent information. And if you're into doing business with the government, one of my favorite groups is Virginia PTAP, vaptat.org. They are awesome, and they will help you. The majority of these websites, the information and everything is absolutely free. Back to that four-letter word. I told you I was going to mention them, and I do. And this is just a sample of our website from today, Arlington Economic Development, the BizLaunch website. You are now right here on December 12th at our webinar, but we have some events that come up. You'll find them all there. We blog. I have a blog posting that I just did on small business tips that you need to think about before you go into the new year. But all the information, you can even put your name on our small business directory for free. And I also have a checklist, a more detailed checklist than my golden checklist. If you really like to, if you're extremely detail-oriented, I definitely recommend that. This is just a snapshot from our website today. And then we're going to move on into financing. To finance or not to finance. I meet with a lot of people, and a lot of them will say to me, you know, Tara, I'm going to self-fund. I really don't need any money. And my whole thought is you always need money. For whatever it is that you're doing, you need to have cash on hand. And it's not always because of a bad thing happening. It could be that you win this most amazing contract, and all of a sudden you need to hire 10 people. Where's the money going to come from? You know, something amazing has happened to you, and you need money on the short term. And so I always say, and I was a former banker many years ago, but something that I always remember is you go after money when you don't need it. That is the bottom line. And that leads me to my next slide, which is, yes, finance. Get funding. Get funding when you don't need it. Because when you need it, people can smell desperation. Oh, Tara, she's a little too aggressive about wanting this money. What's up with that? And it makes me think, I don't know if I want to do business with her. Whereas if I am meeting with a banker or somebody that's a VC or somebody willing to invest, and I go to them and I say, hey, look, you need to be with me. These are the goals that I have, and I just need this amount, very specific, to do this very specific thing, and I will have a return on investment of this. And you say that, you plant that seed, and you continue to meet and continue to work with that person. Because with everything, with a small business, it really is about relationship building, which leads me to there are different financial options. Of course, I think the one that's very popular is our own savings that we've amassed. Maybe we use the equity in our home. Also, family and friends. There's crowdfunding, which is really a multiple people from around the world can fund your endeavor. There's some like Kiva Zip where you don't even have to pay it back. I mean, you have to pay it back, but there's no interest, there's no penalty if you pay it off early. So there are a variety of different crowdfunding options. There's traditional lending, which is when a bank will lend you money for your endeavor. They may ask you for certain things like the 3-year tax returns. Remember I said you and the business are synonymous, and so if you're looking to fund something, they'll ask you for that. They'll also want to really make sure that your business plan is feasible, which we talked about. A lot of times what people will do as they're starting out, they may get a line of credit in the bank. And what that line of credit will do is they have it there in the pocket. If they need it, they can draw from it. They can pay it back without having any kind of penalties or additional interest. And they use it and they pay it back as they need it. So as they're growing, they're just going through and they're starting to build the credit of the business. That's what a lot of business owners will do, is do a line of credit as they're starting out. Small Business Administration, or SBA lending, really is having, I think of it like the federal government is your co-signer. You're still going to work with the bank. The bank will be the underwriter and the lender, but it's also packaged to the SBA, and there's certain thresholds and certain things that the bankers need to do to be compliant with federal guidelines. So an interest rate will only be so high. The amount that you can borrow is so high. You have to meet certain eligibility requirements, but you go through all that. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer. So typically what I'll say to folks is, when you're meeting with the bank, talk about your goals, talk about what it is that you're doing, be very specific and be very prepared with what you're asking for. It could be that they have a product that they can offer you that has a lower interest rate than an SBA-backed loan. If they feel not as secure because you're a startup and it's a new endeavor, they may ask for the SBA guarantee, which has usually slightly higher interest rates. But let them come to you about that. Venture capitalism is when there's an organization that's investing, almost think Shark Tank in a way. And one of the fun things that I do with Shark Tank is I go back and look to see if they really did invest in those companies. Because being on TV and learning about a company is one thing, but then the next thing, when the lawyers get involved, it's very different in the terms, because typically if a VC or somebody wants to invest in your business, they want something in return. Maybe you're not as willing to give 30% or 50%, but then they're like, well, you're asking us for money, you need money to do what you need to do, this is risky for us, so we set the terms. And sometimes there's not an agreement, which is fine, but it gives you an idea. I think Shark Tank is a great way to get an idea. It's a little exaggerated, but it gives you an idea as to what investors are looking for as they begin to do their business. Now, I'm going to go a little bit faster because I want to make sure we get into the policy and regulations. But this next slide is the 5 C's of credit. This is typically what a bank is looking for. And these are like the first rounds of things that you should be able to do. Capacity, capital, collateral, conditions, and character. Basically, the most important one is the capacity. That is your ability to repay the loan, and that's the most critical. So whatever you're asking for, even if your endeavor fails, you need to be able to pay it back. They also want to make sure that in capital that you're also personally invested in it, that you're taking a risk and you're putting cash, your own cash in as they put cash in. This could be anywhere from 10%, and I've heard as much as 40% of whatever amount that it is that you're asking for. Collateral or personal guarantees to secure the loan. I mentioned your house. It could be a car. It could be stocks. It could be anything that the bank could liquidate in case it's trying to get the money back if the business fails. Conditions. Not all banks. What is the intended purpose? Not all banks will lend to a restaurant or to IT professional. It really depends. So you want to go with a bank that understands your industry sector and understands your needs. And then character. This is the impression that you make with the lender. If you stand up, if you know your business, if you've done your business plan, you know your target market, you know your competition, this will have an overall general positive impact. And the banker, you know, typically your loan goes to an underwriter that's somewhere else, off-site. So if you've made a great impression and the bank loves your character, they will fight for the loan for you, which is pretty cool. Which leads us to the different types of business structures that you can be. You could be a sole proprietor. You can have a general partnership, which has more than one person. You could be a limited liability company, or you can incorporate. One of the things that I want to emphasize in sole proprietorship, it's just what it sounds like. It's just one person, sole person. You can't have other partners to participate. You and the business, you are the business owner or the entrepreneur. There's not much that you need to do on the state side. You can get an employer identification number through the Internal Revenue Service, or you could use your own Social Security number. Many times people don't like it because it doesn't separate the individual from the business. It's so synonymous, so if something happens, it doesn't have the protections. So they decide to be an LLC. LLC is a formal structure of your business, where a state, whether it's Virginia or it's the District of Columbia or it's Maryland or California, wherever you are, and it says it vouches for the company and says that Tara's Spectacular Restaurant, you know, that's my doing business name. That's my, you know, I'm starting to separate that business from Tara Palacios. I can be the registered agent under an LLC. In Virginia and in many places, it's a one-page form that you can fill out that has a crib sheet that tells you what each line means. You can do that, or you can hire somebody for $500 to fill out this one-page form with each line described as to what it means. So that's up to you, and you would do the same thing with incorporation. All the paperwork, you can do it online. Everything is very seamless. But this is one of the first things that you want to do. If you are in Virginia, sccc.virginia.gov is this hyperlink right here, will take you exactly to where you need to go. Keep in mind, though, that at some point you do want to talk to your CPA. Depending on how much you gross, this will impact the type of business structure that you are. And knowing your own situation, they will be able to tell you or recommend to you some of the best cases to do in these different areas. So that's something that I am not a accountant or CPA. I don't even play one on TV. But some things to think about as you're looking at your business structure. And you would get the employer identification number. You need that if you're an LLC or if you're incorporated, and you would get that from the IRS, and I have the hyperlink here. There's this hyperlink in the second bullet, which will actually take you, if you answer yes to several questions, then you definitely need an EIN. Sometimes I recommend to people that are sole proprietor to get the EIN even though it's not required, because the income that's generated from the business is separated from other income that you're bringing in. And when it comes to tax time, it's easier for your accountant to separate and to do taxes. So something to think about. Also on the federal side, if you're securing a commercial or a retail space, you want to make sure that you're familiar with the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act, because that really will say, if you're looking at a location, how wide the doors need to be, how many bathrooms do you need to have. So these are some of the things that you have to think about on the federal side. On the state side, I mentioned the State Corporation Commission is where you can get your limited liability company paperwork, your general partnership, and your incorporation paperwork done. If you are in an industry that is regulated by the state, meaning architects, hair stylists, nail salon, you would go through DPOR, which is the Department of Professional and Occupational Regulation, and they will let you know when the next test exams will be, how you go about getting your certifications, to make sure that if your industry is regulated, that you have all the proper documentation to be able to operate. VEC is a wonderful resource, the Virginia Employment Commission. They will help you if you're hiring employees. I highly recommend all the information, data that you need to have if you're hiring somebody is available to you there. I would also back that up if you're hiring somebody to work with the Arlington Employment Commission. They do a lot of work with VEC and making sure that businesses have employees. They'll help you to find workers for free. You don't have to do like a blind Craigslist ad. You can work with these agencies to help you. And also Workers' Compensation Commission. This is unemployment insurance, things of nature that you have to have as a business if you're hiring people. Local requirements. Now this is true no matter where you go. You must, no matter which jurisdiction, you have to get an occupancy permit that says that you can run your business out of the locations that you are in. It's either a home occupation or a certificate of occupancy. This is a warning flag if you're leasing space, because if you want to, catering isn't done everywhere. There's specific places in our urban land use plan that says catering can go here, 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 and here. So if you ever have a question about a location that you're looking at that you want to start your business in, feel free to reach out to us and we can check to make sure that you can do that use in that particular area. Home occupation permit is free. It's a one-page application that says you're not going to put up a huge, juicy sign and 20 people aren't in and out. You know, it controls how many people can come in and out of your home, but that you're operating your home. The CO depends on how much square footage as to cost, so that changes. Your business license is actually how you pay your local taxes, and in Arlington you have to get the license the first day of operation, and that is available online. Business tangibles in Arlington, any kind of equipment that you use as you're doing business, they do a depreciated amount. And I'm going to show you where all of the websites are. And the other thing is your trade name. If you're an LLC or if you have a doing business as, you would need to secure a trade name, which is $10. You could go to the online form to search to make sure that nobody else has your name in the county before you register it. And then also, like if you're dealing with food, anything that's ingested, whether it's liquid, whether it's heated, or whether it's cold, needs to go through the health department. Especially if you're getting, what I tell people, if you're doing a food truck or some such, have them look at the food truck before you purchase it. They will do this. A lot of these agencies, if you have any questions about something like a car that you're purchasing, we will meet with you before you make that major purchase to make sure that it can be put in on the road in the county. So anything dealing with occupation permits or COs are done through buildings.arlingtonca.us. You just click on business owner, or you can look here under the quick links. Under business owner, it's everything that you need to know. All the policy, all the regulations are housed on that site. Taxes with the Commissioner's Office, if you click on New Business, the link for New Business, it will walk you through the process. If for the first year you're grossing under $100,000, it's a flat rate of $50 a year. You still need to file. If it's under $10,000, there's no tax due, but you still need to file. So make sure that you go in and take a look. If it's between 0 to 100,000, it's a flat tax. Once it goes to 100,000 or 1, that's when you're looking at, they do it by percentage. And we have really great relationships with our tax office, and I can put you in touch with them, and you can say, well, my business plan says I'm going to gross X. And then you can set up your account and talk to them, and they could give you an estimation. You can do that while you're in the business planning phase. I highly recommend that. So there's nothing that comes to you that's a surprise. If you're a photographer, for instance, the business tangibles, some of your photography equipment will be taxed. And I have a link right here for taxes for business tangible, and it talks about exactly what is depreciated tax and when it's due. May 1st. Your trade name, I highly recommend when you go to this link to search it first to make sure that nobody in the county has the name that you want to use. That's the only reason why a business license would be rejected is if somebody has the name in use already. The same is true with the SCC, the State Corporation Commission. There's on that link, you can search to make sure nobody in the Commonwealth has the name. And trade name is very different than trademark. Trademark is what you want to do and make sure nobody else is using your name or already has a trademark on it. So that's separate. That's done through the U.S. Patent and Trade Office, and you can actually go to that website and check it out before you do anything. Because some businesses will go after little businesses that are using their name as under trademark infringement. So be very careful when it comes to that stuff. Health Department, this is the link that walks you through what you need to do in order to get a food and health license, as well as it has step-by-step if you do a food truck. Some of the certifications that you can receive are pretty cool. On the federal level, after you've been in business for a while, you can do 8A. Usually they say you're in business for 2 years. 8A certification allows you to bid on contracts that may not be advertised so many times, or it'll give you special consideration to work with certain agencies, right? It's actually for 9 years. There's also a small business certification program. Arlington does have a very small hub zone. It also houses a hub zone program, and the Woman-Owned Small Business Program, WOSB, might be something if you are a woman-owned business owner, if you're planning to do business with the federal government. That might be something to explore. Also, the Commonwealth of Virginia, through their Small Business and Supplier Diversity, offers small certifications, small woman-owned, and small minority-owned. And those certifications are good for 2 years. If you're competing for opportunities through the Commonwealth of Virginia, you can get that certification. And which leads me to where those opportunities can be found. And here under the purchasing office, Arlington has a page on its main website which talks about how you go about the purchasing process. But EVA is where we do business. Arlington County's budget, everything is run through the EVA system. Most local jurisdictions, as well as all the universities, as well as everybody, is in the EVA system. So you can sign up to register with EVA, and then you can also get your certification through the Small Business Supplier Diversity Office. And then federally, I recommend everybody get on SAM, the System for Award Management. That is a sole source procurement opportunity where I, as a federal agency, if you're in SAM, I can sole source you up to $2 million. I see your business card, your capabilities. I need somebody quick to come in and clean offices or do whatever. I can go up to $2 million on that site. And then house all the federal opportunities. We used to call it FedBizOps, but it's fbo.gov, and you can see where all the federal opportunities are. I always tell people when it comes to procurement, if you're interested in doing business with the government, There's a lot of business intel and market research data that's available, including pricing, which is really, you want to make sure. I definitely want to recommend hiring a lawyer or CPA. That's the only thing that's not free, but it's something that you'll definitely want to do. And then I have a variety of different links here where you can find accountants, where you can find attorneys. I found that the Bar Association is excellent. Their price points are great. It's a very nominal fee to work with them in the beginning. I tell people, bring every question that you have or information that you need, bring it with you to them. And if you like them, you can hire them as your attorney. So you can execute like this, or you can execute like this with a huge big bang. I'm all for the huge big bang. And you know, when you see the shuttle going off, it took a lot of work, a lot of planning. The weather had to be just right. Everything, the sun, the moon, the stars had to align. But you know that a lot of work was put in. And this is what I recommend for you to do. Just keep in mind, these are some of my top things, and I think I've beat a dead horse with planning. Create a business from existing market. Don't create a new market. You can be the new Microsoft, but they failed a lot before it was a success. Ask for the money, get a great location, great credit prices, have a fabulous team. Make sure that you keep stellar records, that your records are up to date. Ask for help. Do not isolate yourself. Do not be an island unto yourself. Network with influencers within your industry. Many times we're like, oh, I can't talk to that person. But you'd be surprised if you ask the question what answer you may get. Make sure you have them. Also set up an advisory group of people that you can go to that are leaders within a field that you can ask, hey, does this sound feasible? What do you think about this idea? Brag, use social media, visit us as much as you like in BizLaunch, and repeat continually. Because the most you repeat what you do, you become. You are what you repeat. And so thank you all so much. I know I ran out a little bit of time at the end, but we are here for you. I really appreciate you spending the afternoon with us. It has meant a lot. If you have questions, I will stick around for questions. I'll throw it back to Janine. I completely understand if people have to pop up, but we're here for you and your questions.
All right, Tara, we do have a question, and it is, what if you are starting a nonprofit and want to get going while waiting for a 501c3 paperwork to go through? Any recommendations for that?
I would still, as a nonprofit, several years ago, nonprofits and for-profits, it was like, oh, we're completely different. The thinking matter with nonprofits now is that they are very much do a lot of the same similar things that for-profit businesses do. I would begin, my recommendation for a nonprofit is to have a plan and to have a strategy. Some of the things that you'll need to add to that strategy would be your board. Your board is the most important. The group of people that are helping to oversee what it is you're doing are so amazingly important. It'll take you a year or so to get a great board. People that just don't come to board meetings but are actively engaged in helping the organization. I would also create a board pipeline where you're constantly looking for people, so that not only do you say you have a board of 13 or 12 or however many, but maybe there are 5 in the pipeline that are willing to come in. This is really helpful, and I think people don't think about board development as they're launching, but it's incredibly important. The other thing is with fundraising and raising capital and writing for grants. That also can take a tremendous amount of time. So if you can identify people of influence that are in some of these areas, depending on which industry your nonprofit is in, a lot of this stuff you have to develop, and a lot of people will do it in tandem as they're waiting for their 501c3 status. Other questions?
Another one is, what if you are developing an online drop ship business, then would you need to be an LLC or need a certification of occupancy?
For an online business, you do need to still get your home occupation permit where you're located. Depending on what states you're going to be shipping to, I know that the retail tax is a very important thing that you have to, the pass-throughs, and making sure that those states where people are purchasing things from you. So you still would need to have the formal, like you could get a home occupancy permit. You would get your business license. If the majority, and then make sure that you collect the retail taxes from the state that you were in. And I can also talk to the person offline as well, definitely.
Awesome. Well, that's all the questions we have at the moment. If you guys do have more questions, please feel free to reach out to us to call and set up an appointment. You can call 703-228-0808.
All right. Thank you all so much. And thank you, Janine, for taking the questions. And we really appreciate you spending the afternoon with us. Good luck on your endeavors and have an amazing new year.